Let's go, let's go. Alright, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
All right, welcome back, Reckless Success. Tonight we got my beautiful wife, Lesa, back on again. She loves coming on.
I do.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about my past, and then we'll switch and start talking a little bit about business. And for you, those of you that don't know, my past is very checkered, and my future is very bright. So hopefully I can relate to a lot of people out there. But tonight we'll talk about after I got into cooking meth, then, I know who the other cooks are in the area. And there's this one, we'll call him Cyclops. I called him Cyclops because he only had one eye.
You're such a bully. Oh, I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah,
Aww.
but he was my good buddy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, so I meet this guy, and he's also cooking a little bit, and I'm cooking a little bit. Well,
You're networking with your fellow cooks.
I was networking with the cooks.
Oh.
It's not fun to cook by yourself, so me and him partnered up, and he was a good buddy for a couple of years. He still is. But
Why did he only have one eye? I don't think I know that. I just
when
knew
he was like 16, he was fishing, and he had bluegill on a fish string. You know, the stringer with the little metal spike on the end. You stick it through the fish's gills, and that's how you save your fish. Put them on the string. Well, he had the stringer, and he had one fish left on it, and he was bouncing it, trying to get it to come off, and the end's a spike, and he bounced it, and the thing came up and stuck right in his eyeball.
God.
Could you imagine?
That's
at like
horrific.
16 years old.
At any age.
At any age.
And he lost his eye.
Yeah. So he had
God.
it was a glass eye, but it was like a half. Like he could take it in and out.
Oh.
It was just like what you see right here. And he could pop it out and clean his wound or whatever.
Oh.
Well, after it was all healed up, he could put like a 1/4 gram of meth in there.
Stop it. That's
like
horrible.
A little sack of meth behind his eye. And he
can't handle that.
He could squeeze real hard and pop his eye out. So like sometimes we'd be fucking with people, and like he'd be like smoking some dope, and then all of a sudden he'd squeeze and pop his eye out on the floor.
Yeah, such a scary experience.
I told him to do it. I was like, dude, you should do it with your if you got a girl.
Oh,
you should be going at it and just like
no, you shouldn't do that.
Like right when you're getting off, you should be like,
You get bad advice.
Because you could tell it was fake, especially if you're around him for a while. But if you didn't know him, you just thought he had a crazy eye.
Right.
It's like this was his move.
I just think it looked like his eye was a little bit messed up. I think someone told me he lost it.
Kicked by a horse or a mule or something when he was younger.
Oh man, poor guy.
Yeah. So that's my buddy Cyclops, and we had a lot of good times together. But years go by of just us running hard. He lived with his parents, and his dad, if you remember, was a correction officer.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, us as meth heads, there's a guy in the house that we're all partying at that's wearing, like, a uniform.
Everybody would go in and out through his bedroom window, and they lived in, like an apartment or a duplex, right?
Yeah, they moved around a lot.
But I feel like the parents knew...
Oh, they knew
that people were going in and out the window because, like, the front door was right next to the window, but everyone still used the window.
We used to put thermoses of anhydrous in their deep freeze in their house.
Oh my God.
They had to have known. The whole house would be stinking like anhydrous. All these meth heads in and out of the house all hours of the day.
I can't believe his dad allowed
that. And they
that.
literally acted like nothing was going on. Like, they were what? 50s probably.
Maybe. I only ever was there one time.
I never said hi to. I mean, I basically lived there with him for a couple of years, and it was like I might have said hi to his parents like 5 times, and I would walk right by him like nonstop. They'd be just sitting on the couch watching TV. His dad would get up, they'd eat dinner, he'd go to work, and they would just like live like there wasn't all these meth heads in the house. It was weird.
I don't know how parents do that. Like, it seems like a lot of people you hung out with, I don't even want to call them enablers, but I guess it's what it is. But like, their parents just wouldn't address what was going on in front of them. And I think that's so bizarre. Like, if any of our kids ever were acting funny, or if either of us thought someone else, we'd be talking to them immediately. Like, we would never just like be too scared to confront them. And I don't know. That stuff blows my mind.
I don't know if they had demons of their own they were trying to hide or what.
Who knows?
But
no judgment. I just am always surprised by that.
They were definitely appeared
to be like a normal family.
Yeah, family. except their son that had one eye. He didn't look too normal, but the rest of the family looked pretty legit. All right, so one time we were going to go get some anhydrous. This is what we need to make the meth. So we had these propane tanks, and we needed to clean the propane out of the tank, because if you don't clean the propane out of the tank and you add the anhydrous, then the meth tastes like propane. It just ruins it. So we would clean out
Because usually meth probably tastes good, huh?
Yeah, if you get the right amount of lithium,
It tastes like strawberries or something like.
Yeah, mine did. I'd add some, Kool-Aid, strawberry.
Oh, brother.
But so we needed to clean out these propane tanks. So we used acetone because that's just what we had on hand. We're like, this will work great. We pour acetone in the tanks. We flip them upside down, and there's like a little bit of powdery looking stuff. It's just the bottom of a propane tank's nasty. So we dump it out, flip them upside down. I'm going to let it air out because I know acetone's flammable as shit. And for whatever reason in his head, told him to go over and turn the tank over on its side. So he gets up. He doesn't tell me what he's doing. I'm just sitting there. I've got my Raptor. We're using my Raptor, and the tanks are going in the milk crates on the Red Ryder wagon upside down, I'm thinking, until they get filled. He walks over, lays the tank on its side, and takes his lighter and lights it at the end. And this propane tank shot a flame out like this far of just blue. It was like, whoosh, and it's freaking, it didn't take off or nothing, but it just shot this. When he did it, he threw his lighter. It was so hot, it melted his fingerprints into his lighter. His lighter had his finger like pushed into it.
That is nuts.
And instantly his hands like swelled up crazy. Like it blistered. I mean, he had, whatever the worst degree burn is, it was bad. So we had planned on going and doing what we were about to go do. So I was like, damn, dude, you got to go to the hospital. And it sucks doing the crazy stuff we used to do by yourself. Like, nobody wants to be in the principal's office by themselves. I've done a lot of bad stuff by myself, but I would prefer to have a buddy there just to watch my back. You know what I mean? Like, we were reckless. So I'm like, well, Cyclops, you got to go to the hospital. So he goes on to the hospital. I remember I went out. I wonder
what he told them happened.
Who knows? He saved that lighter, or I saved it and gave it to him. He had it for a long time as like a trophy of his fingerprint melted into. So I went out, finished the night by myself, had Eminem playing in my headphones. Probably had like an old Walkman at the time.
Right, probably skipping the CD when you were riding.
Had the CD, with the little shock absorber that you put in your pocket. That was that night. So that was one crazy little story we had together. Another time, he could only see out of one eye, so he couldn't ride worth a shit, We had my Raptor, and he was on like a 450 Foreman Honda 4x4 four-wheeler, and the cops get after us. We're like right downtown Marion on Market Street, or not Market, 13 is where we were. That's where we cut off. Cop gets behind us. We hit a block. We get ahead of him far enough that I knew he wasn't going to get away on that 4x4. Like, it wasn't going to happen. So I stopped in the middle of the road, let him get on my Raptor.
What?
I got on the slow four-wheeler and then let him get away while I toyed with the cops to then get away.
How could you get away on the slow four-wheeler, but he couldn't, just because he couldn't ride that good?
It's 75% rider, 25% machine. I could be on a fucking moped and get away.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You cut off in some weird places. Not when we're running from the cops, but when we ride mopeds, Jesse's like, let's go here. And I'm like, not. I mean, I just want a leisurely ride. Yeah, you know all the little cuts.
I must have been running from tigers in my past life or something. Yeah. Because I've got all little cut-throughs and shortcuts, know how to get away.
You anticipate them. Yeah. Like, I'm like, we can't go that way. And then there's a trail. I'm like, oh.
Most of the time, I just try to go fast enough or enough weight on the back tire that it doesn't really matter what I come upon, that I can just pop the front end up. Oh. It's my move.
So anyhow.
Turn the hat back.
There you go.
Pop over it. So anyways.
So you're running on the...
So we go down, we get on Market. We go down the way a little bit and we see some power lines and we turn off the road and it's a woods, but the power line's clear, right? We're like, all right, so I'd never been this way, and I never used to take ways that I didn't know, but they were on us. There was a shit ton of them, and it seemed like a good idea. We turned off of the road, went down the power line like 100 yards, and bam, we came upon this like creek that was 50 foot wide and like the water's 6 foot deep. It was a big channel that goes through the town. And I'm like, fuck. So we shut the four-wheelers off. We're only like 100 yards off the road. The cops had seen us. Now the cops are all out here on the road. There's all these cop cars. And I'm like, holy fuck, holy fuck. And we see their flashlights coming. It's nighttime. And they're walking down the way, and we're at the end. And I'm like, okay, switch back. So we switch back four-wheelers. And I'm like, listen, right when they get up on us, we're going to start the four-wheelers. And you just come right behind me. No matter what, just stay right behind me. And he's like, all right. And the cops got about halfway down. They got within probably 30 yards of me. We're right on this creek edge. I mean, where we had went, there was like a bunch of, tall grass and whatnot anyways, but they were getting right on us. And I just started up the Raptor, and I literally came out of there. Right when I started it, I fired it up in like second gear and just took off and stood it up in a wheelie. And I rode a wheelie all the way down that power line. And my thought was they're going to get the hell out of the way, or something. So Cyclops comes right out behind me, get away.
What?
Yeah, we shot right out on the road, hit a couple blocks, and we got away. They just hemmed us up that one little spot.
Oh, my God.
We'd always get away.
So they didn't think to leave anyone in their police car waiting for you guys to do that. They all were on foot.
Oh, yeah. They were all down there. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, that's crazy.
Another time... it was snowing outside. They lived right by the courthouse. Do you remember? Is that the apartment you remember? Just north of the courthouse.
Right in Marion in town.
And they lived there like a block away from the courthouse. He's in an apartment with his parents. It's him, his brother that's older, and his parents. And we're higher than hell. We've been up for days. And one of the tweakers that's there is outside, supposed to be doing something to my four-wheeler, but I think he had like a wire brush and was cleaning underneath it. Like, who the fuck knows? Just tweaking on my four-wheeler at like 3 a.m. Or it was like 5 a.m. And the newspaper guy comes by and he sees the dude over by the four-wheeler and he thinks that somebody's trying to steal the four-wheeler.
Oh, God.
So he calls the cops. Now there's like 5 of us in this apartment bedroom. It's his parents' apartment, who were like outstanding people. And all of a sudden, the dude comes to the window, because like you said, we'd crawl through the window. Yeah. And he comes to the window with the cops. And he's like, hey, can you tell them that I'm supposed to be out here? And we got like shit everywhere,
Oh, my God.
And now there's a cop and a tweaker at the window where we're usually serving out of. And we're like trying to tell the cop, we're like, yeah, it snowed and we're about to get ready to go riding all day. So we got up early. Like, right. We looked horrible.
Yeah, he knew.
So... that's my good buddy, old Cyclops.
So what did the cop do? He just left?
Yeah, we told him. I was like, no, it's us. We told him some bullshit story. Another time, we went down to, I had this little area down there that I would go to. And we're in a ditch. I parked my truck in the middle of this field, the red S10. We go down, and there's this big ditch that's like 8 foot down. It's got tall sides, big ditch, but it's all dried up. And we get down in there, and we're messing around. We're doing our thing. Probably not the best place, but whatever. At least I clean up the earth now. That's my payback. So I'm down in this ditch, and it's daytime, and all of a sudden we hear hooves, like running. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
More horses.
And we've got shit everywhere across the bottom of this creek.
Oh, my God.
Backpacks worth of stuff laid out. And we're listening, and all of a sudden, horse, horse, horse. And we get up against the side of the creek because it's like been washed out. It's a turn, and we're just sitting there because we can hear the horse up here. The fucking horse jumps right over. I swear to God, this horse jumps right over us.
Like a manned horse or just a horse by itself?
Yeah, it was somebody riding the horse. Jumps the fucking creek with us right below him cooking. And another one, there was 2 of them in total, jumped right over us. And they're trotting around, jumped right over us, trotted down.
They didn't even see you.
We're sitting there. I'm like, holy fuck, my truck's like 200 yards out here in this field. Yeah, my heart was dropping.
That is so crazy that people, like, I sense when people are near. Like, I think it's weird that people don't sense. Like,
or
you know what
smell
I mean?
us. Like, we were stinking.
Like,
everything we were doing
you just think if you're going to jump a big ditch, you would look down and, like, survey the area. Unless maybe they do it all the time. But still, I just like you look around more.
Right.
That's funny. That's so weird.
I've got a lot of really good stories with this guy, and I don't want to tell them all in one night because there's so many. I mean, I've got years worth of doing wild shit with this guy, but we got to a point to where we were trading dope for our materials, so we wouldn't have to go shopping for them. We'd just trade.
Yeah.
Other people did the shopping, we did the cooking. So this guy is getting us like 5 cases of ether at a time, and
Where do you buy ether, at the store?
you can buy it at the store, but to buy 5 cases, we find the guy that works at a place that uses a bunch of ether.
Oh, brother.
So then we enlist him to go get our ether. And I remember we used to go to like Rural King. He'd come in there every 2 days, 5 cases, 5 cases. They wheel this shit out on a dolly, and there we'd be sitting in all our camo, all cracked out in this like piece of shit car of this janitor. And they'd load up these cases of ether, and we told them that it was for cleaning these machines, which it really was. But once we got in the mix, the machines no longer got cleaned, and we just got the ether. So,
Wait, what machines?
I don't want to give too many details.
Oh, okay, where the guy worked, you mean?
Yeah, you'll know.
Okay.
So it turns into, we're like, okay, the place you work is a big club, basically.
Oh.
You know? So it's like a big club, and they closed it too. That's when like drinking and whatnot in Illinois closes. And then the janitor crew would come in from like 2 to 6 and clean the place.
Right.
Well, we enlisted the whole janitor crew, and that's where we started getting the ether. And then I'm like, damn, you got that whole building, and the cops would never think to come there.
Oh,
So we
God.
started going there and doing it. And we would come and look out the door at certain points, because if you think about it, cops always sit out in that parking lot.
Oh.
I don't know how many times we call it getting down.
Oh, my
We'd be getting
gosh.
down, and the dude would be cleaning. He would come to where we're at, and he's like, hey, I don't want you guys to be scared, but there's 2 state cops out in the parking lot.
Like they were just taking a break or chatting or something.
Yeah, they're just
They had
sitting there
no
chatting,
idea.
watching the
They'd have no
road,
reason to think
the
that
highway.
there was illegal
It was
activity.
right on the highway. This building was like
Oh, my God.
right in town, right on the highway. But it was huge. It had this huge parking lot. And anyways, the cops would sit there, and we used that place. Like they would close it too. By 2:30, 3 o'clock, everybody was out. And then we would go in there, open the bar, hang out at the bar, take people in there, party.
That's insane.
Yeah, and then we'd also use it to cook at.
Which is so horrible.
One time I'm there, it's like 6, 7 in the morning. We'd always try to be out of there by like 7, because the place wouldn't open back up till about 10, but then the owners would come in at like 8 or
open
9,
it up,
you never know. And it was like 7 o'clock, and the janitor guy comes out, and he's like, hey, don't be scared, but the owner just got here. And I'm like, what do you mean he just got here? There's cameras on the place, you know? I'm like,
How would they not see you there then?
I don't think they're recorded. I think he just watched him in his office, but I know that he had cameras on the inside. So I'm like, he's going to see me leave. And he's like, no. I actually went out the back, and I jumped the fence, and I ran down the back of the building and got to his car, which is out there. That's how I got out of there. But I was like in the middle of everything. But I don't know how many times we would just go out there. They would open up this whole club.
Like an after-hours club,
this
and
is
no
like
one knew you were even in there.
1,000-person club at least.
I don't know.
And
It's
at
a
that
very
time,
large building.
Now it's switched to something kind of else, but at that time it was a big club.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of stuff going on there, but there was also a bunch of tweakers
It's
up
like
in
changed
there about-
hands a couple times, so I think it's changed like what business runs out of there. But
Right.
that's just, and since I bet like half the people or less that you hung out with had licenses, I bet you guys were all in like one car. So they didn't know there was like 10, 20 people hanging out in there.
Yeah, we didn't take a whole lot of people there, but like that was like mine and my partner, Cyclops' party spot. We wouldn't blow up the spot.
Right.
You know, only every now and then we'd go out there with other people, but mostly it was our place to cook, and it was right in the center of everything.
That's crazy.
With state cops sitting in the parking lot watching traffic. I remember one time we came out and got in the car to leave, and there was cops out there. We had to go. The owner's going to be coming soon.
That's so nuts.
And we're like, shit, and we just act like we're part of the janitor crew and pack shit out. Like as we went out, we were taking mops and stuff out, and we loaded up and left.
Oh my gosh.
Drove by and...
That's just nuts.
Right.
It's like a TV show.
It should be a TV show.
Because it's just crazy that stuff would like on right under authorities' noses or business owners' noses or parents' noses, and like no one knew or cared to look into it enough.
So let's think about this. The janitor was how old at that time, you think? 50? 45, 50 years old?
no
A
idea.
rough 50 years? I mean, I'm talking mullet. This dude was like out of shape, just old, fat guy that liked to. What did he do? I think he would trade. He would smoke meth, but I think he would trade it. He would trade us, get the meth, and then I think he traded it for like cocaine or something. Is what he was into. He's dead now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so sad.
All these people are dead. So I can talk about
lucky
it.
that you're alive and well.
Right.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, but you knew him. How old were you? You had met him a couple times. So how
Again, Jesse would like literally take me around these weird friends of his, and I was like, why are you friends with this old, strange man? But they wouldn't be like creepy. They were nice.
It was just like I had a bunch of old souls in my life.
Yeah, but Jesse would be like, oh, you just stay right here. I'll be right back. Or we got to go in his office for a minute. I got to talk to him about something. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know like what they were doing. I was just hanging out along for the ride. Like I had no clue. I was so dumb. I wasn't dumb though. I was just naive. I don't know.
We were just young.
I was just young. But yeah, so yeah, Jesse
You
had
were
always
naive and I was a manipulator.
There you go. That's what it was for sure. But yeah, Jesse had lots of strange old friends, and I thought it was bizarre. But like, I don't know. I wasn't like we didn't hang out with them. Like it would be
I
like
just
we're
had
gonna
to
swim
meet
at my
with them.
friend's house and hang out with them for a little bit. So I didn't care.
Right.
And then we'd leave and do something else.
Right. Do you remember the night when Lisa's over and she's like, I don't remember what we were doing, but we were going to go riding. We were going to go to his house, which was in the next town over. And I'm like, well, let's take my four-wheeler. Why we wouldn't have drove? I just want to take the four-wheeler. So me and Lisa and I get on the four-wheeler, and she's like, whatever you do, you can't get me in trouble.
I have family in law enforcement, which
Yeah,
makes this
which was
dating
active at the time.
relationship so much worse. So yeah, but I was like and it wasn't like nighttime. It was like evening. It was like summertime. It was like like sun was still out, I feel like. And
Okay.
I was like, you cannot take this on the road. Like if we go there, you've got to take like, side roads and cuts. You can't just like go on the main road. Like I knew he would ride his four-wheeler. And Jesse said, oh yeah, that's fine.
What'd we do?
He literally pulled out of his mom's where we were hanging out and got it in a wheelie and rode all the way down her road to the main road in town, turned on it, and I was like dying inside. I'm like, this is so bad. I mean, I didn't have a helmet on. Anyone that would see me would know it was me. And he did
I
a
always
wheelie
wore a
through the
helmet for
four-way
my own
stop.
protection.
No, you didn't.
I'm joking.
He did a wheelie through the four-way stop in our little town, and then didn't we go? I'm like two or three roadblocks.
Yeah, we ran right into
that
a
was
roadblock.
so weird.
It was weird.
It was early.
We left my mom's. She's like, go easy, don't get me in trouble.
And I was
I'm
like, drive easy, don't do wheelies and all this stuff. I didn't want to die.
yeah, I knew what was going to happen when I did the wheelie. I mean, that's a panty dropper right there. So I come through town in the wheelie. We get outside of town to Sycamore Road.
So
and
now he's on like back roads, which is I was happy about.
Right. And we came up over a little hill and right there, bam, roadblock. Cops
I was like,
stopped,
no.
lights on.
Oh,
we're on the forward.
scary.
And I'm like, stop. Turn around, take off the other way. We went down. I had another way to get there to the guy's house. We went to the guy's house. We hung out, not partied, but we were probably drinking a beer or something like that.
Right.
And we left that guy's house and we came. I'm like, let's go all the way to Herrincope Road.
All the way around.
Because I didn't want to run into the roadblock over here. We came all the way to fucking Herrincope Road, and I'll be damned, we didn't run right into another roadblock on this intersection.
Yes.
And I'm like, same thing. We came right up on it and stopped. I'm like, shit, turned around.
It was
took off
terrifying.
back the other way.
But we didn't get in trouble. They didn't like.
No.
If they saw us, they were too busy to like try to chase us, so they just let it go. But
They would never, anybody that's good on a four-wheeler and is familiar with the area should not get caught running from the cops. I mean, they're so fast and they can get through ditches. So, you know what I mean? If you just I can cut through a ditch that's like 3 foot deep, just pop right over it, and a cop car hit it. He's fucked. So,
right.
But yeah, we had good times.
Yeah, I was always scared. I had bad anxiety back then. when I dated you.
You should have.
I did. It was in my pit of my stomach like all the time, and I didn't know what it was. Anxiety wasn't a thing then, so I just was like, "Why is my stomach always in knots?"
Yeah.
Like I knew I shouldn't have been around you, but I just was anyway until.
Those were butterflies, baby.
Oh no, they weren't. It was.
You thought they were knots. Those were
I
butterflies.
was terrified.
That's what that wheeling through town will get you.
Oh, but yeah, I don't. Jesse doesn't give me anxiety anymore. He gives me peace, lots of peace, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could make that happy for you.
Me too.
Speaking of that song that came out on TikTok, have you heard it? Or we did talk about it. What's that band called?
I think the guy's name is like Ave, like AV, and his band name on Spotify is like Honest Ave.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was at first, but it's like one word, Honest AV. And all his songs are so good.
He's got the song that's going viral on TikTok that's talking about addiction. I can't let you go. You'd rather overdose.
I'd rather overdose is the name of it. It
Yeah.
is so good. But if you play the playlist on Spotify, like I have been listening to it nonstop. It is so good. And he just like, I feel like he didn't have any like views or songs, played until like it went viral on TikTok, the one song. And now he's like #1 in Spotify's charts and stuff. And he's freaking out because he's like, you guys just changed my whole life. Like I've had this music out for a long time, but it's all his experience from his dad was an addict and died when I think the guy was in high school. And then I don't know if his mom's an addict or not. Maybe. I didn't watch he gave a little like, he did a video about some of his past, but it's about losing his dad to addiction. And his dad overcame all of these like medical issues, but then got prescribed so many pain pills overcoming these issues that he got addicted. So it like sucked because he was able to defy open heart surgery and all these freak accidents. And then that sucked him in and he OD'd, I think. So,
Right.
But yeah, y'all got to look him up because it's some good stuff.
That song going viral kind of helps me see what my point that I'm trying to put out there is just there's so many people struggling with addiction.
Mm-hmm.
When that song came out or went viral, my whole TikTok feed was just people, and it was basically kids, it seemed like, which is just heartbreaking, wanting their parent to get sober or a loved one.
And I think people are sharing pictures of themselves as a child and saying like, I'm proud of myself. I overcame that. And like, they didn't become an addict like their parents or,
The ones I got say, I was screaming so hard for you to hear me. And then the next you slide over and it's like their parent that's healthy now and looks totally different. It's like, I'm glad you finally heard me.
I don't think
Or
I've had
sometimes
those
it's a
ones.
grave and it says, you never did hear me or something
That's
like that.
sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's about, and that's what Jesse's point is, like, it's not just if you've ended up in prison or if you've done all these really crazy things. Like, I think a lot of people, whether you're born into it or not, like, but everyone, you've got issues with your parents, whether they're addicts or not, but you kind of take on that persona of like what you're taught in life, and it's called like learned behavior. So you learn as a child how you react to things when you're angry, how you react when you're sad, whether you turn to drugs and alcohol, whether you don't. And again, it's not always that it's like learned from your parents, but a lot of people, it's like that cycle.
Right.
And it's just easy to stay in that cycle and have bad relationships and not have goals and no aspirations for yourself. And you just settle for what you've always known. And that doesn't have to be that way. Like you can reach so far above what you grew up into and make your own life and your own choices. And you don't have to just live the same struggles that your family did.
Right. I seen a statistic the other day that said 49 to 75% of children of parents of addicts, then they become addicts. So
That's sad.
But that's still 20 or 30% of people that don't. So
Yeah, I do think addiction's hereditary. I really do. And I like alcoholism, how it runs in families and stuff. And I think,
it's also a product of your environment.
Yeah.
I mean, you just grow up around addicts.
and you think that's the answer or that's the way or that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And there's people that come from good quote unquote homes where parents don't drink and they're not addicts and they end up that way. And that's why I think it's important not to shelter your kids from the realities of life. Like if you don't drink and do drugs you need to be still talking to your kids about the risks there and like having open conversations because it's going to come up. Like they're going to be around drugs, they're going to be around alcohol. And like, I want to talk to my kids. I wish no one in my family ever did, like in college, partying so much. Like I drank so often and so much, and like everybody did. So it seems normal, but like that is so abnormal. And I have friends that are like alcoholics that never came back from that because they didn't know they're alcoholics because everybody was then, you know? But then some people have that addiction where you really can't overcome it. And that's so sad. But like, I don't know. I think a lot of generation, like our generation, parents didn't talk about this stuff with their kids and they didn't address it. And it was like a hush hush thing. And I mean, I plan to be open with our kids and straightforward about stuff. And I just think we need to talk about it more and talk about the real risk and how it can literally ruin your whole life. And that addiction will take a hold of you and you might never come back from it. And that's real life and that's scary.
The home life thing is very important. Even say you do smoke pot, don't do it in front of your kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, go outside, do it on the porch, do it somewhere else. But if they see you doing it, when they're 12, 13, they're going to want to do it too. Because what's your kid want to do? He wants to be like his mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know, who do you want to be like? You want to be like your parents.
Yeah.
So if your parents are smoking pot all day, then you're going to want to do it. Not saying that's a bad thing, but for a kid, it is. I mean,
yeah. Well, even like drinking alcohol, like Jesse and I drink not a lot, but we don't sit at home and get like wasted in front of our kids. And like, you know what I mean? I would never, and I'm not trying to judge people. Everyone can raise their kids however you want. But I do think it's learned behavior. So if our kids saw us getting wasted every night, they're going to think that that's what you're supposed to do every night.
Right.
So like, I don't want them to think that. I don't want them to think that's why we don't drink every night. You know, even if it's one drink, we don't do that. But it's like, I don't want them to think that that's the answer. Like I want them to know you can, if you're having a rough day, you don't always have to turn to alcohol. You can have a hot tea, you know, or talk about it or listen to your favorite music or pray or whatever it needs to be. Like and we're not perfect, but I think you have to put effort into that and remembering like what we're showing our kids and like what they're soaking it all in and thinking like everything you do, they think is normal and what they're supposed to do when they become adults. And that's a lot on a parent. And you got to think about that.
Right. For sure. Well, I guess we can switch from talking about wild and crazy times and talk a little bit about business. So on business, tonight I kind of want to touch on when we started, we were operators, me and my brother, and my dad's an operator, my cousin, uncle, grandpa, but we were operators. We didn't want to stop it I definitely didn't want to stop it just working for somebody else. I done that for a while. It was nice. It was real nice. But then you come into winter and you don't work and you're on unemployment. And I've just got too busy of a mind. If I come into winter and I sit for 6 months, collect unemployment, I'm going to be smoking meth again or who knows what.
Say that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, my mind moves way
Idle
too
hands are the
fast.
devil's playground is the saying. And
That's what I was looking for.
yeah.
So I know to stay busy. And that kind of transitioned into us owning our business and doing our own thing.
So you could work through the winter and not
'cause
just sit at home.
Now I'm in control of when I'm working and not working. So, but we didn't want to stop there. So like we got real good at what we knew how to do, which was mostly what we were doing was residential type work, site development, ponds. You know, we'd build a road, somebody'd buy 10 acres and we'd clear half of it, put a house pad.
Driveways and lots of drainage issues and yards that hold water and rerouting water and ditches and
right. So we done well there, and then we just you know, when you're in a trade, you always want to look at what pays the most and what's got the best return. That's why we're all in it. We're not in it to go to work every day just because we love doing it. I mean, we do love doing it, but...
And I don't even know that excavation always has the best return because our equipment's so expensive and our work comp's so expensive and our insurance is so expensive, you know, liability and everything.
In our case solely, though, we're looking, okay, if we're going to be in the excavation field, what should we do? So then we started getting into a little bit of environmental work. And that pays better than environmental work. So that's the route we went. So I'm happy where we're at there. I don't think you could go much higher than that on the excavation scale.
I don't think so.
I mean, we could go into a nuclear plant and clean it up. Makes me feel good because of so much stuff that I'd done in the past, for the environment, which I didn't think about at that time
Right.
as a young tweaker, cracked out meth
Yeah.
head. So now, for the past couple of years, we've just been cleaning up the environment. So kind of makes me feel like I'm giving back in my own little way,
Well, and I think like when you're talking about that, you strove to be the best, and like you didn't just start your own business and like think you're the best and you know it all. Like you spent time learning things, trial and error, figuring things out, doing your own research to learn more. Obviously, like we've said in the past, you went through the union apprenticeship, which taught you a lot of initial stuff, and then you built on top of that.
Right.
And then I think like by bringing in Jesse's brother to work with us like that, it's like that's a hard transition because it's hard to make sure you have enough money to pay someone else also. So like
Another person's lifestyle.
their whole, yeah, and
You
support
gotta
their
have enough
family.
work to be able to do that.
And that's scary to bring someone on, but you also like can't be greedy. So it's hard because you're like, oh, we're finally making more money and not having to like skimp by to put everything back in the business. But really to grow and make even more and really get to the next level, you do have to get a crew and get trusted employees. And David's been like the best employee we ever could have asked for. I don't think he's ever had a sick day in
Right, yeah.
6 years or however long it's been. Like, but he works really hard, and that's not always easy to do. It's hard to find people that value their work and take pride in it. But I think you and David both do a good job and take pride in that. And you're not just gonna like, I don't know. It's crazy that some people do that. They put out bad work, and it just blows my mind.
If you do good work, it pays off for us. Same situation, Dave not having a sick day.
Yeah.
I don't either. I
No,
did have a
yeah.
sick day about a week ago. I don't know what the hell happened. I had a bad fever.
For the first time ever, though, and I mean ever, like Jesse and I kind of joke about that him and David have never had a sick day, but he was super sick for like 24 hours, and then you're better. It was super weird, but you couldn't go to work. You were like shivering
I was
and
like
shaking.
103-degree fever. I was
Yeah.
trying. I got up to, and I just got back from that snowmobile.
Yeah.
I had been 2 days because the night I got back, I slept like an hour and a half and had to go to work.
Well, maybe a little bit more than that, but
It's 3:30 to 5.
oh yeah, you guys got in super late.
Yeah. And then the next night, I just didn't sleep good for some reason. And then the third day is when I really crashed. Like I'd
And you
been
got
through all this
sick.
adrenaline on the trip and then flight, whatever it's called, or
Like jet lag. I don't know if
Jet
you'd have
lag.
jet lag because it wasn't that far, but the altitude probably affected you. Lack of
Right.
oxygen.
the full day we took traveling.
Yeah.
Layover.
But you were legit had something because you had a super high fever.
Yeah.
I've never seen you sick like that.
But what I was getting at was hard work pays off. So with the hard work, that makes other people, I'm telling you guys that we're good and that, that's the direction we went with. But around here, I don't talk about being good. I don't say I'm the best.
No.
I let everybody else talk for me. So whenever I hear people talking and they're like, hey, I seen John. John said to call you guys, you're the best. That's what I like hearing is, other people saying it for us. So we're telling you guys this stuff because you don't know us and you're not in this area. So if you need me to, though, I can line up 100 people that say we're the best. But what we did was we got to the top of what we felt was the dirt, doing residential. We'd done some commercial work. Commercial's finicky. There's a lot of guys doing commercial. I mean, I have bid commercial work cheaper. I bid commercial work and seen it go cheaper than I do on residential.
Yeah.
Like I've seen some commercial jobs when we're bidding stuff go, 14,000 and there's 9,000 of material and it took the guy a week with 4 guys. And I'm like, how does that add up?
Yeah. And we're not in it to just be spinning our wheels and cashing checks to you do that sometimes. You're just paying everything out. But like, I don't know how people do that.
I don't either.
It's bizarre. But there was several jobs like that where it's like, there's no point to do it that cheap. If he can do it that cheap, go for it. But
Yeah.
there's no way we'd even touch it.
So it is kind of hard. Well, with the commercial, what helped us out was we done good work. We, our work spoke for itself to where other companies come to us and they say, hey, we visually seen some of your work. We want you to work with us. And that, just paid off to eventually, the people that we're working with now,
And that's how it
literally
started.
just seen me working.
Right. They saw Jesse's work ethic and how
I
skilled he
remember
was.
the guy come over and introduced himself. And I was working with one company, and it was another company. And that owner seen me working. And I remember he came over, introduced himself, and was like, "Man, you're doing great work. I've been watching you." And I'm like, "Well, nice to meet you." And then now look, 5-6 years later, we're still working with him.
Yeah.
So,
And that, again, it goes back to like being willing to talk to people and get to know them a little bit. Like, I'm sure that was a quick conversation that day, but
right.
What a great friend and business mentor that person's become, you know? But if Jesse is just like, oh, okay, thanks, man, and
Right.
drove off in his dozer, you know,
Right.
which people do. It's like they just don't want to connect with people. But like, what a compliment for an owner of a large company to come compliment your work, and you were willing to accept it and say thanks and get to meet him. And
Right.
and then-
Definitely been a very good mentor and friend.
and then ongoing work. So where Jesse can, and David, of course, 'cause he works for us, like they can go do these bigger jobs, which they want to be doing, you know, and our company can do bigger jobs with other companies. And
Yeah. And it definitely, that residential work's good. There's a lot of it. You can stay busy year round. It's more than just saying, okay, I got a job, I'm going to go do it. It's a chess game. You got to be watching
Yes.
to do it right and be successful. Each move has got to be strategic. So we're watching the weather 10 days out, knowing what jobs can be done here and there so that we can maximize every nice day. It drives me nuts when I talk to other contractors and they're like, well, we got rain coming Wednesday, you know, and it's Sunday, and they're like, we got rain coming Wednesday, so we're not going to do nothing this week. Doing residential, I would be looking at that a week before and have a 2-day job that I could get in to max out every, you know, and then the next 3 days we would do something on the machines.
How many nights have you and I sat at 10 or 11 p.m. on the office floor with 2 calendars, you know, and me and all of our jobs listed out and mapping them out for the next several months, trying to piece them in. And that's, again, hoping the weather all turns out. But 3 days here, 2 days here, 4 weeks here. And like, because I remember I'd be like, text so-and-so and ask him if we can come next Monday. He's like, it's 11 p.m. I can't. I'd be like, oh, like I'd forget how late it was because we're just sitting there trying to map it all out. You can't be like, oh, I've got these jobs for 2 months, so I'm good. I'm going to turn people away or not be on top of it. Like Jesse never stopped looking at jobs. Never, if someone called and he's in the tractor,
I would have 6 months worth of work and people would call. And I know people that would say, oh, we're booked out for a while and not even think about it.
And not even get their information. Yeah, not even look at the job.
And luckily for me, I like talking to people, meeting people so much that I'm like, yeah, I'll be done here at 6 o'clock.
You're trying to make that cheddar though too. You're not going to chit chat.
I do like chit chatting though.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm driven.
I'm definitely getting some money out of. Well, not always. I've talked for hours and not made it done.
I wish I had a list of how many jobs you've looked at that we didn't get. Because I mean, Jesse, I used to type up these lists for him for Saturdays, 2 pages long, and I would try to, you know, spread them out across our Southern Illinois is a big area. You know, you could drive 2.5 hours across the state, right? Probably. So yeah, I'd try to like put him on a map where it made sense. But I mean, he would be all over and gone all day.
Yeah, we might be working in 30 minutes from home in Vienna, and then after work, I've got to go to Harrisburg. It was a lot.
A grind. But
it is nice to be on long-term projects compared to the shorter jobs. With the shorter jobs comes a lot of long hours if you want to be successful at it. Because on those, you want to just be knocking them out as quick as you can. That's done right, but you need to be thinking like every move when we were working to taking the ramps down on the trailer. Like we're in a zone. We're just going. There's no fucking around. We don't get there. And, you know, usually in the morning, we'll start the day 30 minutes early, sit out in the shop and drink coffee, watch the news, and then we start 7 o'clock. And when we start, it's like go time all day long. We're busting ass and trying to just maximize every move. You know, if I could save 2 seconds here over the course of a day, I might save this much time. So, yeah, every step, think it out. be thinking ahead, multiple steps ahead.
Yeah, and don't get like proud where you do feel like jobs aren't worthy and stuff. Like when we did residential, Jesse would do small jobs and huge jobs. You might leave $100,000 job and go do a $1,500 driveway, and then the next job's 80 grand, the next one's 200, whatever, and then you go back and do a $500 one day job or a half day for some old woman that needed her driveway potholes fixed.
Sometimes I'd be driving to work and I'd stop and do a $500 job on my way to work.
Yeah.
But we can get into more business on the next episode. Lisa, thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I think you're my best guest. I like having you on.
Thank you. I think you're biased, but
right.
I appreciate
you're
you.
You're definitely
saying
the
that.
prettiest guest.
I like coming on. It's fun to hang out with you.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Reckless Success. Subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.